It is my singular honor to welcome you all to this magnificent resort city of Victoria Falls, known locally as Monomotapa, which means the smoke that thunders on this occasion of the 60th edition of the Transform Africa Summit. It is true that as patriots of Africa would have wished to have Victoria Falls named in African language. But the story is that African people are very, very warm and very accommodative. So there was a guy called Dr. Livingstone, a missionary, who was taken by our people, the local villagers, to show him the magnificent and majestic, I think, Monomotapa. So when he went back to England, he called it Fort Victoria Falls. At the time in England, United Kingdom, there was Queen Victoria. So he named our falls after the name of a queen of some other country. So for nearly 100 years, we were calling it Victoria Falls. So today, my dear brothers, if we advertise for Monomotapa, no one comes. But if we say Victoria Falls, they come. On behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe, I express our profound gratitude to the conveners of this summit for affording our country the privilege to host this very important event. I trust that you have found the arrangements suitable. I equally welcome those delegates who are joining us on various digital platforms. The world has developed over many, many years, but the current development is too fast for people of my generation. For instance, under the Monomotapa Kingdom, which ruled this country for over 800 years, the Monomotapa Kingdom, which is Zimbabwe today, had diplomatic relations with Ethiopia, what is called Ethiopia now. And what we now call an embassy and ambassador staff. There was also a similar structure then. The head of the mission was called the Musoro, meaning the head. The other officials were either the eyes of the emperor, or the mouth of the emperor, or the ears of the emperor. But today, all that has changed. The head of the mission is now called ambassador. And then, I don't know the other people, but they have their own titles. So you can see that Africa actually had earlier civilization where they exchange diplomatic relations. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, the modernization and industrialization of our great continent urgently requires the adoption of science, technology, and innovation. It has taken quite some time for Africa, when it became independent, to immediately promote science and technology. We somehow looked up to the former colonizers until recently we discovered that the first world was built because they focused on science and technology, which we are embracing now ourselves. But we should now move fast and leapfrog and even surpass the West. Partnerships are essential for Africa to leap forward and build capabilities in the science and technology. Equally, we must seamlessly integrate the frontier of science and technology with the unique needs and the strategic socio-economic development goals of the continent and our respective jurisdictions. The numerous innovations and the start-ups by our talented, youthful population require the support not only of our governments, but also from the global capital. It is therefore pleasing that this summit has a broad array of participants from both the public and private sectors, extending beyond the African continent. Collectively, let us leverage on this noble Transform Africa initiative to accelerate the achievement of Africa's Agenda 2063. ICT aspirations and the Sustainable Development Goals, leaving no one and no place behind. Distinguished delegates, this summit is being held at a time when lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic give impetus for Africa to develop its own capabilities across the social, economic, and industrial spectrum. To realize our vision of transforming Africa through ICT, the young African innovators are challenged to deploy our continent's abundant raw materials for the production of ICT-related hardware, software, and various gadgets. Our institutions of higher education and entrepreneurs should also be supported to design relevant software solutions that speak to the intricacies of African economies and communities. We must look inwards with regard to resources before we begin to seek global economic support. And that support must come to benefit our domestic priorities. It is a misnomer that we continue to rely on generic, off-the-shelf software packages availed to us at exorbitant prices. The Smart Africa membership, comprising renowned global technology firms, must be leveraged to catapult our capabilities. More must be done in this respect. In our case, Zimbabwe, an assembly factory has enhanced the availability of ICT devices at affordable prices locally, especially for the youth. Similarly, the African diaspora is aided to use existing networks and knowledge platforms to advance continental aspirations for cutting-edge inventions, innovations, and viable startups. In the case of Zimbabwe, the meeting is convening against a backdrop of notable achievements stemming from the adoption of the 5.0 philosophy of education, among other policies we have made. Science and technology are becoming intertwined with our country's social and economic development, while innovative products and services are transforming the economy, meeting major national needs and improving people's quality of life. Particularly, Zimbabwe continues taking deliberate steps towards food security and food sovereignty, riding on the rapid innovations in science, communication, and digital technologies. These are encapsulated under our country's Smart Africa 2030 master plan, with emphasis on developing homegrown solutions. If I may give an example, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck us as a continent, because Zimbabwe is under sanctions, if we apply to purchase vaccines, if there were, say, 15 countries or 20 countries applying for the same vaccine, our name is put at the bottom. To circumvent that, we summoned our young students at universities, boys and girls, who are talented, to say, look, we need medical oxygen, which we could not get. The only company is BOSC, I think it was British, would put our name at the bottom. So we put up a team of young scientists, and in no time, the international level of purity of medical oxygen is about 96%. But we put our teams together, and we are now producing medical oxygen with a purity above 99% worldwide. But do we remain focused on the international supply, or we should not be anywhere? Now we produce 1 week's production of medical oxygen for COVID is enough for Zimbabwe. But the other 3 weeks in the month, we produce for export. Under the Smart Africa Alliance and the Smart Agriculture Flagship Program, Zimbabwe is privileged to be spearheading the development of the agritech blueprint for Africa. This has seen my government adopting an agritech strategy and implementing an integrated agriculture information management system towards increasing agricultural productivity and value chain development, as well as efficient land use and environmental management systems, which has now secured Zimbabwe to be food secure. Overall, we are determined to boost agriculture and the rural development through improved access to valuable ICT-based information that enable agricultural stakeholders to make the best decisions. In the past, we believed the bigger your field is, the better to have higher yield. Oh no, it's not true. You must focus on the yield per hectare. If they give you 2 tons, research for it to give you 4 tons. And if you achieve 4 tons, research more to give you 10. The same 1 hectare. So, enabling policies that support and strengthen the agri-tech ecosystem are being continually improved. These relate to ICT infrastructure, food production and processing, irrigation and water management, disaster management, telecommunication, transportation, and financing, among others. All these areas require to be put to our young generation who are doing sciences at universities. You will be surprised that the capacities which they have, if they are funded. So the rollout of our education 5.0 philosophy saw the broadened learning and development of science, technology, and innovation. This has led to numerous startups which are creating new products and services for use by our fast-growing economy and society in general. This philosophy departs from where the universities were, during my time, the universities were producing clerks, nurses, policemen. We were never taught how to produce products and services that promote the life of the people, for them to have less burden. In our areas. Notable among these is the launch of our maiden satellite, codenamed ZimStat-1 in November 2022, by the Zimbabwe National Geospatial Space Agency, which we created about 3 years ago. We were depending on the big guys, the West, to know the weather and future. Now we selected a few highly intelligent young men to study about this space technology. And now we have our own Zimbabwe one in space. You go there and say, whose craft is that one? USA. That one, France. That one, Germany. That one, Japan. That one, Zimbabwe. This satellite will enable a wide range of solutions in agriculture, in energy, meteorology, civil protection, communication, and technological outreach. In addition, the innovation hubs established within tertiary institutions and universities have led to other solutions presently used by local authorities as well as the energy and financial services. In the past, the whole country might just have, register 10, 15 patents per year for inventions and so on. Now, we do 150 on average registered patents, just because we have put faith in our young girls and boys who are doing sciences, and you fund them at the universities by creating innovation hubs. When the thought in the head is brought out, you fund it. Then when we commercialize it, we go to our own university industrial park, and the product is produced and then patented. These issues include the e-passport, e-visa, and integrated case management system, e-visa, and passports. Zimbabwe was depending on Germany to produce e-visas. So you have to fly, you must cross this. So I think when you go to Germany, I don't know whether to cross any sea, but whatever, we have to get Germany to get those things. We again put the task to our universities. We now produce our own e-passports and e-visas, internationally recognized. The growth in innovation and the envisaged transformation of our continent through expanded industrial enterprises will undoubtedly translate to increased trade under the single digital market and the AfCFTA. As such, capacity building around e-commerce, as well as development of the appropriate infrastructure and relevant policy frameworks for the envisaged electronic payment systems for Africa remains critical. My dear delegates, as we scale up the use of ICT in all facets of our respective economies, it is equally necessary to deliberately popularize and boost scientific literacy across our societies, both in rural and urban areas. Stakeholders in both the public and private sectors are thus urged to put in place requisite platforms to disseminate scientific knowledge and showcase technological possibilities with regard to lifting our people out of poverty and into prosperity. Our young boys and girls should also be encouraged to use ICTs from elementary institutions right up to the higher education level. In view of the impact of climate change to the peoples of Africa, it is integral for us all to give due attention to innovations related to clean energy and green technologies. Ultimately, renewable energy remains a sustainable source of power for ICT penetration and use. Let us challenge our youthful population to push the ICT boundaries, to leap forward our great continent of Africa. As I conclude, I once again express my sincere and deep appreciation for His Majesty and other heads of state who have graced this meeting. So I once again invite you to take time off your busy schedule to visit, it doesn't matter which way, Mosio Tunya or Victoria Falls, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, as well as undertake other activities of the mighty Zambezi River. We also have our annual international trade fair in Bulawayo. It is a very attractive international trade agricultural show in Bulawayo. With these remarks, I once again welcome you to this 6th edition of the Smart Africa Summit, and I wish you all fruitful deliberations. I hope that you also enjoy the warmth of the people of Zimbabwe. They are very warm, the people of Zimbabwe. They are very nice. Sometimes in our own tradition in this country, you don't praise yourself. But this is an exception. We will praise ourselves. These remarks are therefore, thank you. God bless you all. God bless Africa.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king, I think I'm a king,